Merci. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, honourable members of the committee, for the opportunity to appear before you to speak to Bill C-244. Je vais faire ma parole en anglais, mais nous sommes heureux de répondre également aux questions en français. My name is Alana Baker, and I am the Senior Director of Government Relations for the Automotive Industries Association of Canada, otherwise known as AIA Canada. I'm joined today by Sylvain Séguin, President of Fix Network Canada, a global leader in collision, glass, and mechanical repair services, operating over 2,000 points of service worldwide. AIA Canada represents, supports, and leads innovation in Canada's $32.2 billion auto care sector. Our more than 4,000 members located in every riding across Canada help keep the country's fleet of almost 30 million vehicles on the road. Whether you have been in a collision or require maintenance, our members help vehicles last longer, pollute less, and keep drivers safer by offering Canadians any product or service a vehicle may need after it rolls off the dealership's lot. I want to begin my remarks by making clear the automotive aftermarket's support for the intention and principles behind this bill. Bill C-244 is a step in the right direction when it comes to leveling the playing field for service and repair of consumer goods, something that is of importance not just to the automotive sector, but to many others. Having the flexibility to repair your goods or have them maintained by third-party providers is critical in a price-conscious market, as it allows Canadians to shop around for competitive pricing. Given persistent levels of inflation, ensuring a competitive marketplace does not just help businesses, but consumers as well. This bill comes at a critical moment when manufacturers of goods, including vehicles, have become increasingly sophisticated in their ability to create a closed loop for service, diagnostics, and repair. The more complex an item is to repair, the more challenging it is to service. This is increasingly the case for vehicles on our roads, which are effectively computers on wheels. However, while addressing digital locks is important, there are still loopholes that can be exploited by manufacturers to prevent third parties from repairing or servicing goods. Any legislation that proposes to address this issue should contain clear verbiage that eliminates manufacturers from the ability to circumvent the sharing of data to prevent independent shops from obtaining diagnostic, repair, or maintenance information for the purposes of legitimate repair. To that end, we believe there are some amendments that can be made to this bill that would strengthen its intention and that would truly pave the way for right to repair in Canada. These amendments, which include parallel changes to the Competition Act, would help reinforce a manufacturer's requirement to allow access to vehicle data. I would be happy to speak about this in greater detail during the Q&A session. Without access to a vehicle's diagnostic data, independent auto repair shops cannot service a vehicle. This makes it harder to make sure vehicles are operating as efficiently as possible, and we expect this problem to grow significantly over the years ahead. Without intervention, automakers will continue to control the terms through which independent auto shops access this data. Lawmakers around the world have recognized the importance of right to repair, including legislation that gives consumers the right to repair their vehicle. 83% of Canadians agree that automakers should be required by law to share data with independent auto repair shops. Canada cannot afford to be left behind. Government must act quickly to advance right to repair principles through forthcoming legislative efforts. Stories are emerging every day about the inability of our members to service vehicles because manufacturers make it difficult or sometimes impossible to access essential data and information. One example was highlighted during our recent Advocacy Day by another member of Parliament. The auto repair shop that this member typically goes to purchased brake pads to fix his vehicle, but was unable to access the repair information from the manufacturer, Volvo, to complete the repair. The repair shop then gave the member of Parliament the brake pads they had purchased and had the car towed to the Volvo dealership. The dealership then told the customer they would not repair the car with aftermarket brake pads, meaning the customer had to pay more money for original equipment manufacturer parts. Stories like this are all too frequent, and they will become more common without intervention by legislation. It is critical that vehicle owners, and not the automakers, are the owners of their vehicle data so that they can continue to choose where they bring their vehicle. Addressing this issue will allow our small and medium-sized enterprises to remain competitive and continue to serve as the primary provider of essential vehicle services to Canadians. I want to thank MP Wilson Miao once again for his work on this bill and committee members for the opportunity to present today. We look forward to answering your questions.
Did I hear you say that you believe auto owners, not automakers, should be the owners of their data, including diagnostic data?
Yes, it's our view that it's your vehicle, your data as the auto owner.
Okay, so how do we protect the OEMs with respect to the issues that have been mentioned by both Mr. Drury and Mr. Adams.
So let me start with we've heard a lot about privacy, cybersecurity. This has always been a priority for the aftermarket. Cybersecurity and privacy should not become reasons to justify limiting serviceability. I would say, notably as an example, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration in the U.S. recently released updated cybersecurity practices for motor vehicles and recommended that automotive industry provides strong vehicle cybersecurity protections that do not unduly restrict access by alternative third-party repair services that are authorized by the vehicle owner. The aftermarket wants repair information to be accessible through an interoperable, standardized, open system. And it's also worth mentioning that among IT experts, we have seen that there is opinion that a multi-layered architecture of interoperable open systems might offer better protection against cybersecurity attacks in closed systems. Also, cybersecurity and privacy risks can be managed. They can be managed throughout the vehicle's life cycle through collaboration between automakers and the aftermarket and industry and regulatory experts. So I would say that implementing industry standards can create it can be safe, they can create secure, direct, and standardized access to the vehicle data, which can then be directed to the repair facilities of the consumer's choosing. At the end of the day, it comes down to consumer choice.
You also mentioned that there were some changes to the Competition Act that you felt might be required to ensure that the OEMs don't circumvent the right of repair. Perhaps expand on that.
Sure. We believe that there are some amendments that can be made to the bill, to this bill 244, that would strengthen its intention and that would truly pave the way for the right to repair in Canada. So parallel changes to the Competition Act would help to reinforce a manufacturer's requirement to allow access to diagnostic and repair information, which would address some of the systemic issues around data ownership and allow our small and medium-sized businesses to truly compete. We did see Bill C-231, which was brought forward by MP Brian Massey, and I want to thank Mr. Massey for bringing this forward in February 2022. That bill contains a number of amendments to the Competition Act that would help to access the data. So in particular, we are proposing a new section be added after Section 75 of the Competition Act, 75.1, vehicles, access and information and service parts. And I would be happy to provide the members of the committee with the specific text after the presentation today.
Could you just explain to the committee how this bill will actually improve competition in the marketplace?
Consumers today are grappling with high levels of cost of living expenses, and the type of monopolistic control and behavior that we're seeing from manufacturers, frankly, is unacceptable, particularly during these times when it adds to the cost of the burden cost of increase. Governments have a responsibility. And it's time to modernize our laws and bring them up to date so that they can keep pace with the rapid advancements in vehicle technology that we are seeing, and that they are fit for the wireless world that we are currently living in today. This is not just about competition, ensuring fair competition. This is about the preservation and protection of consumer choice and ensuring that consumers have continued access to reliable, essential, and affordable vehicle service and repair.
My next question is for Mrs. Baker. So I read your submission to the committee, and I wanted you to expand on your statement regarding protecting consumers by legislation that reflects the new reality of vehicles in Canada.
We are seeing rapid advancements in vehicle technology. And so, like I said, vehicles on today's roads are effectively computers on wheels. So cars today are now equipped with vehicle telematic systems. These systems refer to the computer hardware that is embedded in a vehicle. It collects and stores and processes all the data on the health of the vehicle systems, including the data that's needed for diagnostics and repair. And then this data is transmitted directly back from the vehicle to a back-end server wirelessly, where it's under control and ownership of the automaker. The problem that we're seeing now is that the telematics systems that are installed in the vehicles by the automakers are going to replace onboard diagnostics as the source of vehicle diagnostic data. And because the automakers own the telematic systems through which this data is collected, stored, and processed and wirelessly transmitted, they are the de facto owners of the data and control access to it. So when it comes to the consumers, they do not have a choice on where ultimately they bring their vehicle for service and repair. If our shops do not have access to that data, they simply can't fix the car.
A question to all members of the panel. Is it your sense that the repair industry benefit from this legislation? Will it be proportional to the loss that technology companies will experience?
If I can just add that on my side, I represent 600 franchisee, whether it's collision, mechanical, and we totally agree with certification program, training program. Actually, we have 3 training centers across the country. But unfortunately, as of today, we don't have access to all the repair data. So to that point, I mean, it's highly important that when the vehicle is fixed, that it's fixed as per the OE certification. And if we don't have access to that data, I'm highly afraid that some of the vehicles are being fixed without following the right procedure. So on that, that's my point of view on the...
Okay, merci.
Monsieur le Président, Madame Baker, Monsieur Séguin, l'arrivée des véhicules électriques sur le marché doit chambouler énormément votre industrie et évidemment, toute la conception mécanique est très différente dans un véhicule électrique. Si on parle d'interopérabilité dans les véhicules électriques, est-ce que vous voyez des éléments de leur conception en ce moment qui pourraient compliquer la réparation ou la maintenance des véhicules électriques?
Définitivement. Si je prends un pas de recul, puis je vous dirais aujourd'hui, sur les véhicules qu'on répare dans notre réseau, à peu près seulement 30% de ces véhicules-là sont équipés de systèmes ADAS, les systèmes avancés pour la conduite. Avec le véhicule électrique qui s'en vient, définitivement, les nouvelles technologies, que ce soit de côté sécuritaire, côté équipement, côté formation, ça va engendrer un coût immense pour les réseaux. Les réseaux sont tout à fait, aujourd'hui, pas prêts à répondre à cette demande. Il y a déjà un gros manque de capacité au niveau de la main-d'œuvre, au niveau des équipements, au niveau de toutes ces choses-là. Mais le fait que les investissements requis, les certifications, formations qui vont être requis vont limiter encore plus la capacité, donc vont amener un coût supérieur, puis vont amener des délais supérieurs dans le futur, dans un futur très rapproché.
Et conséquemment, est-ce qu'une industrie comme la vôtre pourrait être menacée par ces systèmes de plus en plus sophistiqués par les constructeurs de véhicules?
La rentabilité des ateliers, des entrepreneurs indépendants, que ce soit en région, que ce soit dans les grandes villes, est excessivement très, très sollicitée présentement.
Now, one of the things that I'm concerned about, like I have a dealer. I go to a Ford dealership. I also go to the aftermarket as well too. I can tell you that I hear enough, and I get particular testimony from people that can't get, the information, and I've actually been the victim of that. What does this say about young people that want to get into this profession in the future? As we have vehicles change, one of the things I'm concerned about is that the dealers know that they can't actually perform all the maintenance and the type of things that are necessary, and the aftermarket is critical. I'm concerned about young people that are investing the cost of education and their time and then getting into an unstable market. And that's one of the reasons I think that the CASIS agreement needs either at least modernization or enforcement.
Sure. Thank you for the question, Mr. Massey. I agree. If on cases for just a minute, I mean, again, this is an agreement that's now outdated. It's over a decade old, and information access must keep pace with the advancements in technology. And today we see automotive professionals who are dealing with vehicle systems and components that simply just did not exist back in 2009 when CASIS was created. And contrary to what you are hearing, CASIS does not work, and it does not solve the problem for a number of reasons. Firstly, it's not enforceable. There's no legally binding enforcement mechanism in place. Second, and you mentioned, automakers are not required to participate, and some, like Tesla, do not. Third, it applies to onboard diagnostic systems, or OBD. This is the technology that's becoming outdated. And again, example, some Tesla models do not come equipped with standard OBD equipment. It doesn't apply to vehicle telematics systems, which I spoke to earlier. This is a technology that's found in 60% of vehicles worldwide and an estimated 95% by 2030. Lastly, I would just say the agreement provides a framework for automakers to share repair information with the auto care industry on a level equivalent to that of their authorized dealers. However, some automakers have moved to direct sales models, so that's eliminating the traditional dealers altogether, along with their obligation to independent automotive shops.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to follow up with, is that all you're asking for is to be treated fairly and consistently, which has been in the past practice the norm for this country before requiring the aftermarket voluntary agreement. And so you're not asking for anything special. You're not asking for anything free. You're not asking for to be unaccountable. You just want a proper, transparent, consistent process. Is that correct?
That is correct. As per the CASES agreement, independent auto care shops are prepared to pay commercially reasonable prices for repair information. We did see a 2019 survey of independent auto care shops across Canada. It found that just shy of 90% of respondents purchased some type of subscription. Independent shops simply just want to have the right to fix the vehicle. No one's asking for anything for free or for government handouts. They will pay for the training and the access to information. What they don't want is to have to pay a dozen different OEs for a dozen different fees. It would be more effective and efficient to have a centralized control for this information.
Yeah, and ironically, I come from the auto sector where OEMs have actually received significant public financing and support in the past, and also for the future for the innovation that we're doing. So the public is actually vested in these great operations that we do have in our country.
Qu'en est-il des garanties? Ça, c'est quelque chose qui m'intéresse beaucoup dans la mesure où, quand on achète un véhicule, on a une garantie de 3, 4, 5 ans qui vient avec, et que si on décide d'aller durant cette période de garantie ou lors d'une période de garantie extensionnée qu'on pourrait acheter sur certains types de véhicules, quand on va faire réparer nos autos à l'extérieur du véhicule ou à l'endroit où on a acheté notre véhicule ou chez le concessionnaire de ce véhicule-là, qu'en est-il actuellement et dans le futur? Qu'arrivera-t-il de cette garantie-là si on répare par un tiers? Partiellement, évidemment, notre véhicule avec des pièces d'origine. Dis-le, c'est important parce qu'il y a aussi des pièces qui sont non d'origine, mais des pièces d'origine. Est-ce que la garantie tiendra toujours, selon vous?
Au moment où on se parle, les programmes de certification sont faits pour ça. Donc, il y a plusieurs manufacturiers qui participent, qui vont partager l'information, qui vont donner, qui vont supporter les formations, même que nous-mêmes, pour s'assurer que le véhicule soit réparé vraiment selon les spécifications du manufacturier. Dans ce cas-là, c'est fait, puis ça va très bien. Il y a un autre point que je vais apporter, par contre, au niveau de la collision. Ça va arriver souvent qu'au niveau de la collision, un manufacturier n'a pas nécessairement, un concessionnaire n'a pas nécessairement de carrosserie. Donc, dans ce temps-là, il va signer une entente avec un indépendant, avec soit des fois un non-membre. Il va signer une entente pour faire, mettons, tout ce qui est carrosserie, rouille, puis ces choses-là. Mais il n'y a jamais de problème en autant que ils vont toujours partager les normes du manufacturier et comment ça doit être réparé. Mais il n'y a jamais de problème de ce côté-là. Fait que c'est pour ça que moi, je dis, on a plusieurs manufacturiers qui travaillent avec nous, qui nous donnent l'information, mais il y en a malheureusement qui ne le font pas, puis c'est là que ça apporte un problème. Mais pour revenir aux garanties, tant que c'est réparé selon les specs du manufacturier, la garantie est approuvée.
OK, donc elle demeure.
Elle demeure.
OK. Maintenant, on s'entend, là, ce qu'on a vécu depuis un siècle, essentiellement, depuis que l'auto existe, là, et vers où nous allons. Inévitablement, on s'en va vers une période où la technologie, même c'est déjà le cas, là, à peu près 100% des automobiles vivront qu'avec la technologie. C'est presque, vous l'avez dit, c'est des ordinateurs sur 4 roues, là. Moi, la personne chez qui je vais pour réparer mon auto, là, c'est à 2 minutes de chez nous. C'est le petit mécanicien du coin là, qui a pris la relève de son père et qui essaie de faire fonctionner son garage au mieux de ses capacités. Et j'imagine, je n'ai pas demandé, mais j'imagine qu'il prend des formations parce qu'il doit être membre de vos associations, là. Et les technologies qui s'en viennent éventuellement, comment peut-on réparer des ordinateurs sur deux pattes quand on n'a pas l'information? Moi, j'arrive pas à comprendre qu'on puisse être capable de réparer un équipement. Tantôt, celui qui présente, M. Miao, qui présente le projet de loi, disait que son frigidaire est maintenant aussi un ordinateur sur deux pattes. C'est même plus un... je veux dire, on s'en va vers ces technologies-là. Maintenant, si on n'a pas l'information, comment peut-on faire pour réparer ces équipements-là sans ces informations fondamentales? Là?
Moi, je suis d'accord avec vous. Je pense que sans l'information, sans la formation aussi, c'est important. Tu sais, je tiens à dire que votre garagiste du coin doit être formé à avoir les équipements pour être capable de réparer le véhicule. Mais cet accès-là à l'information doit venir à un coût raisonnable. Un peu comme disait Mme Baker tantôt, si on pouvait arriver avec un programme de certification un peu plus généralisé, au lieu que chaque manufacturier revienne avec ses outils, ses équipements à lui, qui génèrent encore de plus en plus de coûts. J'avais une conversation avec un manufacturier la semaine passée qui me disait, moi, il y a seulement à peu près 30 % de mes véhicules qui sont réparés au niveau de la collision, qui parlait selon les specs du manufacturier, pour une raison, parce qu'il n'y a pas la capacité, mais son programme est excessivement coûteux. Fait que donc, si je comprends le but de vouloir contrôler l'aspect marketing de ce manufacturier-là, mais s'il ne nous donne pas plus facilement accès, c'est ça qu'on travaille avec, à la formation, les équipements, mais ça va être assez difficile d'avoir les véhicules réparés comme il faut.
So I think OEMs have increasingly and will continue to resort to use designs and design rights to raise prices to consumers, prevent competition, and threaten the viability of the aftermarket in exterior automobile repair parts. Ms. Baker, would you agree with that statement? Do you want to expand on that?
Sure. Thank you for the question. Let me speak to the cost and affordability piece that you mentioned. We already know that Canadians are stretched with cost of living increases. I mean, you gave the statistic about dealerships charging 36% more for repairs, which I've also seen. We have multiple examples that, again, we're happy to share from consumers where an inability to service the car is resulting in increased costs. When you think about having to tow your car to a dealership, if you're in an accident in Thunder Bay and with your Tesla, for example, and you have to have it towed to Toronto, that's an increased cost. Or if you're being pushed towards higher cost OEM parts rather than aftermarket parts, as vehicle technology advances, there is a concurrent increase in the cost to service vehicles. So having the consumer choice helps Canadians to access service and repairs at a wider range of price points. And I would also add that independent shops are small business owners. They've invested their livelihoods into these shops. They're family-operated businesses. These are second and third generations, often with the fourth generation coming in. And to make it such a burden to offer a service to those within their own neighborhood who are coming in where they want to do their business, where they have been doing their business for quite some time, and where they feel comfortable, and then being told that the shop does not have the data to fix it, or they don't have the access to the technology in the vehicle, it makes their business model struggle, and it puts their business and jobs at risk. And this is a concern for the future. We know this is happening, and it's only going to grow.